To unpack how detrimental AI deepfakes and manipulated images are during this big election year, I spoke to Adam Hadley. He's the founder of Tech Against Terrorism, a UN-backed initiative fighting harmful content online. Now, how dangerous is this deluge of AI-generated content in terms of undermining elections?
It's very significant and grave indeed. Certainly without the advent of generative AI, we would be concerned about democracies and the way in which democracies are interacting with social media. But with generative AI, providing sophisticated technology to the fingertips of many billions of people, we are concerned because generative AI makes it very easy to create material, videos, imagery, and text, and to create fake material. Fundamentally, quite a few of the major tech platforms simply aren't set up at present to cope with this deluge.
It's also at a very, very scary level nowadays. Now, 10 years ago, there was the Cambridge Analytica scandal. And today, because of algorithms and how pervasive social media is, it's at a level where things created by generative AI can move at a scale and speed never seen before.
Yes, the volume of material that can be created is significant, and the speed at which it can be created as well. At Tech Against Terrorism, we largely focus on disrupting the terrorist use of the internet, and unfortunately we're already seeing the adoption of generative AI by designated terrorists in creating magazines, imagery, videos at speed, and in ways in which they're able to respond to audience demand and interaction. So because of the increased speed of creation of material that generative AI provides, that kind of creates a feedback loop that makes it possible for sophisticated actors, nation states, and terrorist organizations to sort of fine-tune the content so that it can be amplified.
We're seeing AI now at such a sophisticated level, you can barely tell the difference. I've seen clips of Putin, of Biden, and it really, really looks quite real. They're able to dupe and fool people online and potentially skew elections in a massive way.
Well, yes, and this technology isn't just available for university academics and researchers. It's available for anyone to use. And the point that we're stressing here is that it's not just about detecting this material, but also working with those companies developing the technology to ensure that there's a good standard of ethics being applied. Because in many cases, people can use mainstream technology to create material without many guide rails in place. Secondly, what's required more than before is capacity building, ensuring that our citizens are aware of how to check for this material, because within months, and as you were saying, even now, in many cases, it's almost impossible to detect whether something is fake or real. So it has to come down to where is this material being produced and what are the guide rails there. And in terms of the audience, just how skeptical is the audience? How questioning is the audience?
Meta decided against removing a fake clip of Biden recently because it didn't violate its manipulated media policies. Now, would you say Meta's policies need some major updating? I think this is a bit problematic.
Yeah, there's a fundamental challenge here that if we're saying that fake content is going to become impossible to detect because it's going to become so ubiquitous and the quality of this is going to become so high, I think we have to be careful about the idea that we need to remove all of this material. And certainly, if it's possible for users and the community to label this material, that might be an effective way to kind of crowdsource this. Because ultimately, I think it's going to be very hard to remove all of this material because it's going to be very difficult to determine whether it's fake or not. So it has to be, I think, focused on the community identifying material and there being measures in place, almost assuming that material is fake in the first place, and then working backwards from there. What we're seeing is that some platforms have devised a policy that bans all forms of fake content, and that's certainly laudable if it's possible to enforce this at scale, which probably within a few months is going to be difficult to do because of the sophistication of technologies used to create this material.
Okay, as an ordinary user online, what should they be looking out for in terms of being able to weed out what content is harmful, what is disinformation?
Well, it has to be about triangulating with other information sources. Is something credible? Does it back up what we're seeing in legitimate media on the news or in newspapers? So really, it comes down to those critical skills that are increasingly needed from all of us, because we can't believe what we see on the internet.
And in terms of that, how much content are we seeing online trying to manipulate the narrative in terms of the Gaza conflict and also upcoming elections? How much of this content is actually created by generative AI tools from what you're seeing?
Well, in a sense, the Gaza conflict is the first conflict where generative AI has been a significant part of this. And what we've seen is that a number of major terrorist organizations have been experimenting with the use of generative AI to produce material, posters, magazines, and videos. So we're already beginning to see this. But what we're also seeing is that terrorists are building their own chatbots, are building their own technology to encourage kind of radicalization, and that's of grave concern.
Thank you, Adam, so much for this insight today and coming on Newsfeed.
Thank you.